The Cadillac High Technology Engine was a V8 engine produced by the Cadillac division of General Motors from 1982 to 1995. It was originally scheduled for a 1983 release, later delayed to 1985, with its intended applications being the downsized front-wheel drive models that Cadillac would introduce that year, while the high-technology engine was being developed. Due to higher corporate average fuel economy standards being phased in by the United States government, Cadillac introduced a variant of their traditional V8 engine with the first usage of cylinder deactivation for 1981 as a stopgap measure to increase the fuel economy of the lineup. However, the V8.6.4 engine would experience a litany of unsolvable problems in drivability and reliability, mostly due to the primitive state of engine control technologies at the time. Cadillac was then forced to rush development and production of the high-technology engine for a 1982 introduction in their current rear-wheel drive models. This would be the last engine family exclusive to the Cadillac division. Its successor, the North Star, would go on to share its architecture with the Oldsmobile Aurora in 1994 and later with flagship Pontiac and Buick models, while current Cadillac V8 models use the GM small block engine, commonly identified with the Chevrolet division HT4100. A new lighter V8 engine was rushed into production for 1982, the HT4100, option code LT8. It was a 4,100cc V8, designed for rear-wheel drive and longitudinal front-wheel drive applications, sharing the same metric transmission bell housing pattern as Buick, Oldsmobile, and Pontiac rear and front-wheel drive trains for 2.5L 4-cylinder and 2.8, 3.1, and 3.3L V6. A new line of downsized Cadillac cars with the transverse-mounted V8 engine was slated for 1983. However, delays in the downsizing program shared with Buick and Oldsmobile postponed the introduction of those models until 1985. Design features. HT stood for high technology. For its time, the engine and its electronic control module, ECM, were quite sophisticated, despite having a throttle body fuel injection system, as opposed to more advanced multi-port fuel injection, like the 6.0 368 DFI engines before it. The HT4100 used an ECM that incorporated a detailed onboard computer. Every parameter of engine performance could be displayed on the electronic climate control panel while the car was being driven. The HT4100 also adopted other modern design features, including replaceable cylinder sleeves, high operating temperature for emission control, 210 degrees, compared to 180 in earlier engines, free circulation of coolant between the block and the heads, and bimetal construction that mounted heat-tolerant cast-iron heads onto a weight-saving aluminum block. The engine had a bore of 3.465 in, 88.0 mm, and stroke of 3.307 in, 84.0 mm. For a total displacement of 4.1 L, 250 cu in. It produced 135 horsepower, 101 kilowatts, at 4,400 revolutions per minute and 190 lb-ft, 260 Nm, of torque at 2,000 revolutions per minute. In 1982, the HT4100 was the standard engine for the longitudinal front-wheel drive Eldorado and Seville. It was also placed in many rear-wheel drive DeVilles, and was available for the Fleetwood. The HT4100 was prone to failure of the intake manifold gasket due to scrubbing of the bimetal interface, aluminum oil pump failure, cam bearing displacement, weak aluminum block castings and bolts pulling the aluminum threads from the block. It may not have been the most successful engine to sit under the hood of a Cadillac, but potential buyers were no more satisfied with the other two engines available at the time, the V8 6.4 and the Oldsmobile 5.7L diesel. Reliability issues soiled the reputation of the HT4100. As a result, the V8 Oldsmobile gas engines were a popular and straightforward conversion. Despite problems with the engines, Cadillac still had annual sales above 300,000 as late as 1986. For 1987, a more powerful version of the 4.1L engine was introduced in the Cadillac Alente, using a different camshaft profile and roller lifters to provide for improved airflow. In addition to multi-port fuel injection, this engine was rated at 170 horsepower, 127 kilowatts, at 4,300 revolutions per minute and 235 lb-ft, 319 Nm, of torque at 3,200 revolutions per minute. The 4.1 was superseded by larger displacement engines, and ceased production after the 1988 model year. 4.5, an improved and enlarged version of the HT4100. The 4.5L engine was never classified as HT4500. Engineering advances allowed the company to begin increasing displacement and output again. A bored out to 92 mm, 3.6 in, 4.5L, 273 cu in. 4.5 version was introduced in 1988 with 155 horsepower, 116 kilowatts, and throttle body injection. Various versions of this engine were built from this introduction to the end of production in 1992, including a high-output LW2 version with multi-port fuel injection which produced 200 horsepower, 149 kilowatts, and 270 lb-ft, 370 Nm. For the Alente, outside of the Alente, Cadillac introduced a port fuel-injected 4.5L V8 engine in 1990 with 180 horsepower, 134 kilowatts, and 245 lb-ft, 332 Nm. Across their car lineup, L26 4.9, a larger version of the 4.5, the L26 4.9, debuted in 1991 at 4.9L with a square 92 mm, 3.6 in, bore and stroke. Despite the fact that it had similar output to Allen's 4.5L port fuel-injected V8, the 4.9L engine represented a significant upgrade for the remainder of the Cadillac lineup. Horsepower output was up 20 horsepower, 15 kilowatts, from the previous 1994.5L engine, and torque was up by 30 lb-ft, 41 Nm, to 200 horsepower, 149 kilowatts, and 275 lb-ft, 373 Nm, respectively. Both the 4.9 and 4.5 port fuel-injected engines required premium fuel due to a 9.51 compression ratio. The 4.9 produces its maximum horsepower at 4,100 revolutions per minute. The 4.9L was used throughout the Cadillac line. It was replaced by the newer 4.6L Cadillac Northstar engine.